Hey everyone, it's been a while, I know, but I think it's time for episode 6. Okay, so what I'm planning on doing is doing some work on the neck. So I've done work on the body. Let me grab the body. So the body's pretty much faceted the way I want it to be. Obviously there's a lot of sanding and whatnot to do on that, but I'm happy with the body kind of where it is. So what I want to do is do some work on the neck. I want to, I think, bind the neck, work out really what inlays I'm going to do. They're not going to be excessively amazing inlays, and then start shaping the back. But the first thing I want to do really is just do a quick clean up, quick sanding, and then route the channels for the binding. A little bit nerve-wracking, I've got to say, but I've been watching some good videos of some very good guitar makers and their binding videos, and they make it look extremely easy. So I'm hoping that I can just take that and make it extremely easy for myself. So here we go, we're going to start with the binding, alright? Let's do it. Okay, so what I'm just doing here, as I'm sure you're aware, is the super glue and masking tape trick. As I learnt by watching many Crimson guitar videos. So if I can give you any tip, and it's not my tip, but it is a good tip. If you want to hold 2 pieces of wood down just temporarily, then super glue and masking tape is absolutely amazing, and I absolutely love it. So that's what I'm doing at the minute. So I have got a board screwed down to my bench here. I've got a piece of masking tape on here. I'm going to put a piece of masking tape along the back of the neck. Something like that. I'm just going to make sure it's sticking. Rubbing the back of it. And you need super glue. And you need, oops, don't throw it, but you need this, which is activator or kicker, whatever you want to call it. Basically it makes the super glue go off quicker and harder. So I am going to put some super glue on the masking tape here on the neck, just a little bit down the middle, so you don't want it spilling out. I am then going to spray that super glue, and I am then going to stick this on here. There and there. I'm going to lean on it for a minute. That's going off. And I think that is solid enough for me to do the routing. Cool. Alright. Okay. So, this is the scary bit for me. Because if I cock this up, then I'm making a new neck pretty much. I mean, I have got wood to do it, but I don't particularly want to have to do it. So I have got a binding router bit on here, which is basically a big ball bearing. You see that? Big ball bearing there, which rides against the side of the neck, and then that cuts the binding channel. Don't worry, I think we'll be alright. Okay. Okay, well that's one side done. So I've not gone to the very end here, and that's because this is an overhanging fretboard, and if I took this to the end, then that ball bearing would go underneath the fretboard and it would just ruin the end of it. So I will fix that with some pliers and a sander or something, sanding stick, whichever. Okay, so now I'm going to do the other side. As we say up north, job's a good un. Routing's one of them things that I hate. There are a few jobs in a workshop, or a few tools rather, that I absolutely hate. Routing is definitely one of them. And one reason why I hate it is that it's messy. I mean, it just throws sawdust everywhere. Now I love sawdust, you know, and especially love sapele sawdust because it's my favourite wood and it smells amazing. The whole workshop smells amazing now. But there's sawdust everywhere, so I'm just going to have a quick clean up. Okay? Right, we're clean. Just clean as you go, you know. So, let's get the neck off here. So the beauty of the super glue and masking tape trick, as I'm sure you are all aware, is that it is solid. That is solid. You know, I can lean on that, I can push on it, no problem. But when I want it to come off, just lift it up and no mess. Get the tape off, get the tape off, done. There's no glue anywhere on the neck. Brilliant. Alright. Okay, that will do another job another day. So I'll have a close up here. Let's grab the camera. Okay, so you can see I now have, maybe you can see, there we go. So I've got a binding channel on both sides, yeah, but it's not quite to the end. So here I wasn't too bothered about going to the very end because this is going to get cut off here and then the nut goes against that. I was thinking about having a 0 fret because I tend to make guitars with 0 frets, but I'm just going to make one with a nut, I think. Yeah, let's make one with a nut rather than a 0 fret. So I will cut that off so that's, you know, the binding channel has gone past that on both sides, so that's fine. Then at this end here, so this is where I meant if I carried the routing along, because of the way the router bit works, it has a bearing that runs along the neck and the cutter just sticks out enough to cut that channel. If I went to the very end, the bearing would go underneath there because it's an overhang, and then it would have just chewed up that end. So I stopped just before it, and I'm going to finish that with chisels and files and sandpaper and whatnot, and that'll be lovely. But that went well. I'm quite happy with that. This is the binding actually here. So this is the binding. It comes in a big coil. If you can focus. So I've gone for a sort of, they call it a tortoise shell. Don't worry, this isn't real tortoise shell. This is plastic. And it's going to complement the wood. It's going to complement any bits of copper that I put on this guitar, which I'm still toying with, but that's the binding, and that fits in the channel. Hang on, it's a bit awkward doing this one-handed, as I'm sure you'll agree, but there we go. That's going to fit in there, and then I'll radius the fretboard. Okay, so that's going to be pretty nice, I think. Okay, so the way I'm thinking of doing this, as I've never done it before, is just to use the ruler against there and run it along, and then run my pencil next to the ruler and cut just up to the pencil line, you know, sort of here on both sides, and that should bring my binding just to the very end there, so that should be okay. The question is, and I had this question in the last episode I think, do I bind here? So do I run the binding along this edge as well, or do I just stop on either sides? One of the videos I watched about doing binding was from Texas Toast Guitars. I watch a lot of their videos. Texas Toast Guitars are pretty bloody good at giving you kind of tips du jour, if you like. And one of the tips was how to bind, and now he doesn't bind the ends here. I guess if he was asked to he would, but he tends to just bind the sides, and it looks really good. And I think I might just bind the sides and not bind this end, in which case I'm going to facet this end over. Not 45 degrees, maybe kind of 25 degrees, 30 degrees, just a little facet on there. But then somebody in my comments said, why don't you facet it and then bind it, so the binding is kind of laying on the facet, you know. I think I'm just going to do the sides and facet that end, I think. So let me show you something here. So I had a test of what the binding was going to look like. So this is the binding on a piece of sapele, and I've got some oil on there just to make the whole thing sheen a little bit nicely, but that's the look I'm going for. So yeah, that's what it's going to look like. So I think on either side that's going to look pretty nice. So I'm not going to do the end, I'm just going to do the sides. So let's set up and do that now. Okay, so it's probably completely out of focus, but I'm just going to mess around with the ends here. It's going to take a while, so I probably will just fast forward it when I get to editing this later on, because you don't need to see me just constantly sanding, I don't think. That's one side. Let's do the other side. And there we go. So I think the next job is just a little bit of clean up, a little bit of sanding, and then I'm going to glue the binding on. Alright, so I've done a few little bits just off camera there, a little bit of sanding down here just to take that super sharp, that kind of fluffy edge off, you know. Taking that off, and I've also, if you can see that, I've cut where I would have had a 0 fret where the nut is going to go, and I've kind of marked out here where I am eventually going to cut the headstock, and it will show the truss rod eventually. But the main thing today is the binding channels are cut. We're going to bind them. So I'm going to glue it and clamp it. I've got some bits of MDF here that have got blue masking tape on them. They go either side to clamp the binding in place. Hopefully. They will do. I'm sure they will. So I've got my binding here, which is actually in 2 big lengths. I'm just going to kind of trim it up to roughly the right length on either side that I need. I'm going to leave a little bit. That's one side, and then it should be the same on the other side, so I will snip it there. Okay, those can go there. So I now have 2 strips of binding. Okay, they're going to go on either side here. One thing I just want to double check before I do this, because I am going to be radiusing the neck after this, I'm just going to cut the fret slots a little bit deeper. So I'll do that now. He says. Let's just make a little thing here. That won't be a second. Whoop! Are you alive? You fell off there. Alright, so I've just screwed a piece of wood with a brace on it. I use this for sawing with. So I'm just going to cut the fret slots now. And I'll probably speed up. Okay, so those fret slots are quite deep now. Don't know if you can see them, but they're quite deep, but that's fine because it's going to be radiused. So now I think I will glue on the binding. Okay, so I have my glue ready and I have my binding ready. I've got some clamps that are just off camera there, and that's all I need. That's all I need. So I am just again going to clean in here. Basically, you don't want anything in the way of the side of the fretboard and the glue, because you won't get a good joint, and I want a very, very good clean bond here. So just making sure everything is flat. Alright. Let's go. This glue comes out really fast, so I just need to be kind of very careful with it. But you know what? If it squirts out, it squirts out. Okay, that's one side. Let's just double check. I have glue everywhere I want it to be. A little bit more there. Okay, I'm going to go with that. Where's my lid? There's my lid. Okay, so first one's going on. And I've cut these just a little bit long. And I'm just going to do this with these. So the first one, I should have got my tape ready actually. Let me just get some tape ready here. Just kind of 3 or 4 pieces, you know. Okay, now we can do it. So, I'm going to do my first one. And then the second piece. Okay. And the third piece. Like that. So far, I'm going to do this very quickly. I'll put another piece of there actually. I've got binding down there, just held in place a little bit with the tape, but of course that's not the final at all, because that's not going to keep it in place, is it? Okay, so now I'm just going to do the other side. Try and kind of work quick, you know, when gluing. Or I try and work quick when I'm gluing. Maybe I don't need to. Maybe I'm just kind of nervous that it's not going to work, so I tend to go very quick. And I'm not normally speaking to a camera when I'm doing these kind of jobs. Okay, so learn from last time and put some tape ready. next piece of binding going in. Okay, so this glue, it doesn't grip it, it's not a grippy glue, you know, but it will dry very nicely, but it doesn't grip and hold, you know, it's not like super glue or anything along those lines. I mean, I guess you could just tape it all up if you wanted, but I'm going to clamp it because I like the idea of clamping. Just going to move that a bit. There we go. Kind of get it, you know, where you want it. There you want it. Put a piece there because it wants to move. Why do you want to move? Yeah. Like that. Okay, so I've got it on both sides with tape so far. So now I'm going to clamp it up. And it's the masking tape on there so I don't stick my neck to the clamps. Okay, let's do this. A collection of clamps. One. Two. Let's use these. Many clamps. You can never have too many clamps. That's three. 4. And I'm going to say that's enough clamps. So that's clamped up. This usually only takes maybe half an hour to dry. So I'm going to leave it. So that neck is bound. Hopefully that dries fine. If it doesn't, well then I'll just have to rip it off and do it again. Hopefully not though, okay? Okay, it's been a while for this. Well, for you it's been a matter of minutes, but for me it's been a few hours. I've been working on other bits and bobs in here and just let this dry. It's now started raining outside, but I'm nice and warm in here. Nice and warm and dry. So I'm just going to unclamp it. Okay. So looks so stuck. Let's just get this tape off, and then we'll see. Gets a grip this tape when it wants to. Hey. Right. Just going to do a couple of snips. So, yeah, as you can see, it is bound on both sides. Just going to snip a few bits off here. I can get in. Like that. I'm going to snip here. Like that. Okay. Rightio, so that's a bound neck now. Very happy. Lots of sanding and scraping and all of that to do. Next thing to do on here, I think, is work out what inlays I want. I don't want anything too elaborate because it's not an elaborate guitar. There's not a lot of detail on this guitar. It's got one pickup, a tone and a volume. You know, it's got a standard hardtail bridge. There's nothing fancy on it really, but I do want to kind of keep with the faceted look, I guess, when it comes to the inlays. So I'm thinking maybe just a couple, one round about the 12th, because I always like one around the 12th, and one somewhere up here, and I think that's probably enough. But what do I want? I was thinking copper. I think I might need to buy some copper inlay powder and do some kind of freeform abstract facet shape somewhere here around the 12th, and then a similar thing up here around about the kind of 5th fret. Once that's done, I can then radius the neck, which is going to be the only curve on this guitar, the radius of the neck, you know, like when it's like that way, and then start marking out for the facets underneath, I think. Yeah. But I think it's going to look good. I'm happy with that inlay. I like the contrast. So that's really good. It's going to look great. Okay, next job. Okay, so little close-up of where we are with the neck and the binding and whatnot. So the fretboard currently is completely flat. It is going to be radiused. Got a radius block here. This is a 12 inch radius. So I'm going to go with a 12-inch radius on this. As you can see, when I do the binding, or when I've done the binding, I've left about 1/2 mil of the fretboard showing, but you won't see that. This is so I don't go kind of grinding into the binding too much when I sand it. So I'm going to sand it down, and it's going to be flush with that. Maybe it might go into it a little bit, but it's going to be pretty much flush with that once it's got the radius on the fretboard. So I'm quite happy with that. Been thinking about what inlays to do. I know I want some copper on this guitar, so I bought some copper inlay powder. I do want to grain fill the guitar with copper. I have gold coloured grain enhancing filler, and I have a ruby one. I did send an email over to Crimson, and they were very helpful and kind of mixed a few of these together to show me what I could expect. And it does come up with a kind of a copper coloured grain fill, which I think I will do. So I'm going to grain fill the guitar, the body, and it's just going to have a very, very subtle copper grain to it, because it is quite a tight grain, this. The inlays on here, I was toying with sort of like something across the 12 frets here, and I've been thinking about it and umming and ahhing about it, but I think I just want to do something really kind of simple. So I'm thinking of maybe lines, you know, starting from the 3rd fret, some lines in here, and then the 5th fret, and then the 7th fret, and the 9th, and then the 12th, and so on. Just some copper coloured lines, or lines to match the binding, I thought could be quite good. I think it'd be a nice contrast to whatever copper I put on the body. There's a lot of sanding to be done, but I'm happy with how this is coming along. Next job, I think, on here, I need to figure out exactly what inlay I'm doing. Do the inlay, whatever it is, and then radius. I've got this marked out currently. It's not really showing up too well on there, but I do have some dots stamped in where the machine heads will go. I do want to start doing some carving on this, just a few little facets, not as brutal as the body, not 45 degrees, but I need to cut and trim that much off. Start working out what shape I want to happen here, so the nut can go on happily. You can just see the truss rod poking out there. You will be able to see the truss rod, I think. I need to figure out how to expose that without it just being a round drill hole, because I don't want round. But that's where we are so far. I'm going to give this binding a bit of a scrape to make it look a bit nicer, because there is glue on there. And then I can start shaping this neck. But I think I need to start working out on the body, really, where I want the control cavity. So at the moment we have got the neck pocket, and I've got a pickup route there. So somewhere here, if I go back to the original, there we go. So this is the original drawing, slightly different, however. I think I like the idea of this. Kind of 2 control plates, maybe. I don't know. Maybe just 1. We'll see. But the thought was to have a control plate with a tone and a volume on it, there, and then a jack plug there. Because trying to fit a jack plug anywhere on this kind of crazy faceted look of a body can be a bit crazy. So it's all going to be on the top. But I need to figure out where. So it's coming together. It might seem like it's miles off, but it's not miles off really now, this thing. Just a lot of sanding in my future. I can't wait to fret. That's the thing. I can't wait to fret that. So I am going to have a look at what inlays I can do and what grain filling I can do, and see where we get to from there, really. So I think that's it. That's got to be the end of this episode. As I said, not a massive amount done in terms of finished pieces, but I have made progress, and good progress. So progress what I wanted to do. Obviously I've got a nice bound neck now. I am going to go away and think about what inlays I want on this, and how to do it, and how or what facets I want on this here. Obviously I don't think I can facet this, maybe a little bit of a facet on this edge, because obviously the machine heads are going to be on here, the tuners are going to be there, but I can do some subtle faceting. It's got a name. All right, so I did put, you know, on one of the last videos, if you can think of a name, come up with a name. And one of my very good friends, Curtis, came up with a great name. And at first I kind of went, no, but now I'm thinking, you know what, it makes perfect sense. So the guitar, once it's done, once this is all done, okay, so once this guitar is finished, because of all the angles on it, basically there's no curves, it's all angles, it's going to be called the angle, as in D apostrophe angle, the angle, or if you prefer, the dangle, but we'll go with the angle. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, from now on this will be the angle. So cheers Kurt for coming up with that name, and to everyone else, thanks for watching. And I think I'll finish with some close-up photos as ever. All right, cheers guys, thanks a lot. And here's a few of those close-up photos that I just mentioned there. So you've got the neck joint. That's not the complete neck joint, it's just showing you where we are now. The facets are looking great. I'm really pleased with them. I've got some really nice sharp angles on there. The fretboard is looking nice. It's going to look even better once it's radiused. And that's the guitar as it stands at the moment. It's actually looking really nice. I'm really happy. Thanks guys. See you next time. Bye bye.